Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. My name is Wes Dove, and I've got the privilege today to have a conversation with my friend David Bates. So David and I met, it's been 6 years ago, I believe, through a civic organization that we became involved with at the same time. And we've developed a really cool friendship since then and a solid business relationship to boot. We've been able to do a lot of different things. I live vicariously through a lot of his dad's social media posts, or at least I used to. And that's become a really cool relationship as well. I just really enjoy the time I get to have with Robert when that's available. He's been very, very involved in a lot of different things like the Harrisonburg Police Foundation, the auxiliary police. And I know currently he serves as part of the Bridgewater Police Foundation. It's something that's relatively new. He helped them get that started. So David, you've got a whole bunch of neat things. The one thing I'm going to talk about on the professional side is that you and your dad had been working in some stuff. And I know you'll talk about it as we run through the list of questions, but today you guys lead different branches for Alcova Mortgage, easy for me to say. And you've built that. One of the things that really resonated with me about a year ago, you and I were talking about the idea of values, and you referenced how the Alcova team really led on values. We'll get to that in a little bit. Before we do, how about giving your background and talking a little bit about who you are personally, professionally, some things that you enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been doing mortgages I'm in my 10th year now. It'll be 10 years in August. So right after college, I graduated Bridgewater College in 2016. I took one more summer of fun up at Cape Overlook where I met my wife, Megan, and then have been doing lending ever since. With that, originally I had actually planned to go to the Marine Corps. I had a flight contract with Quantico and dropped from tendonitis in both knees. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Dad said, "Hey, you've got a business with an econ double major. You've got the right degrees. I need someone young. Why don't you come work for me? And you can do whatever you want after that." I said, "Great, sure. I'll get some professional experience, see what happens." And then long story short, yeah, I think he knew what he was doing. And I've been stuck here doing the same thing ever since, because once I built the network and started getting some clients and referral partners, I realized, it's not so easy to just up and leave anymore. So here I am. But yeah, it's been a great wild 10 years, and I've learned a ton and grown a lot professionally and in the leadership world.
I heard you say the word stuck, and I know that was in jest, but I'm going to call you out on it because not only are you doing the mortgages and have you really found a niche in it, you've taken a lot of leadership responsibility, and you don't do that just being stuck. You've got to really have a strong purpose. My 2025 book was based on that, Leading with Clear Purpose, and we've talked about that. I'm going to challenge you and say, what, David, is that driving purpose for you that you've not just took the role with your dad 10 years ago, but you've worked to grow in that role and both develop your network, but also have a team around?
Yeah. So, I mean, both of my parents have been business owners my entire life. So for me, I kind of grew up around it, and it was pretty natural that at some point I'll probably either want to be in a leadership position, management position, or kind of self-employed or do my own thing.
What drove you today? I'm going to challenge the idea that you're not really stuck. What drives
Yeah.
you to take on more and more and more and really serve a team? Because the team that's around you, I know they care about you.
I never, for me, it was really hard to develop like a why or, hey, what do you love about what you do? But it probably took me a couple of years to figure that out. But I realized that my why was actually in helping people, but kind of twofold. I love helping clients, love helping people achieve their financial goals and being a part of that. And a lot of what we do on the mortgage lending side, one of the things we say is, or at least Dad and I, we're certified mortgage advisors. So whereas like a financial advisor is like an asset manager, helps you grow your wealth and all that. We're more on the flip side of the coin, but it's two sides of the same coin, where we help you manage debt. So we can restructure debt and do all that kind of stuff. And that's where I really started picking up a love for it. Was I love helping people financially succeed. But then it was, as we started growing our team here, it was, hey, I love helping all of our coworkers and other lenders in the office succeed too. And how can I help them grow and do better? And here's what I've learned. And at that point, it was just showing them the way. But I think really it was just a passion of helping people completely, but then realizing that could be in a leadership capacity as well. Hey, let me help you grow as a loan officer.
Yeah. And you're right. It's two sides of the same coin, but it's two very different sides in some cases, especially if you really look at it from the perspective of, I can go out and help the people that come to me and say, "Hey, David, here's what I need from you." but it's a whole different ball of wax to help your team members be able to do that same thing.
Yeah.
And Cindy and I see a lot of folks become great at what they do, but really struggle to teach other people to do that same thing. The way we see the team respect and care about you and your dad, I know you guys have both done that really, really well.
Yeah. And I had a great mentor in my father too. He brought me up to speed, and then I was like, okay, here's what I've learned. And now how can I help other people do the same thing? So it's a trickle down.
And brother, that's what it's all about. So with that background, that purpose that drives you to do those things as foundation, talk a little bit about who specifically, what's that person look like that you get the most joy out of helping, serving, making a difference in, whether it's on your team or the clients you serve?
Yeah. Honestly, bottom line, people who appreciate it. That makes such a difference between the people who are just like, oh, hey, I need this done and get it done for me, versus the ones who are like, hey, I want to listen to you. I want your help, and I want you to teach me what I need to know to get this done. What on either side, whether it's client or on the loan officers that work with us, first time home buyers, investors, whoever it is, as long as they're appreciative, those are the ones I love working with and helping people that actually want to be helped and want to help themselves.
That's powerful. I've said over and over and over, David, that I'll do work that I don't like for people that I like and respect. I'm not going to do work that I do like at this stage of my life if I don't like the person and they don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Life's too short. We better enjoy what we do. We'll come back to a little bit more of that with a few other questions. What's one of the values that you hold most dear? If you're working to model something daily, making sure that everybody that you interact with sees it, your team, your clients, your community, what do you want to make sure that they feel when they experience time with you?
Yeah. I would say one of my go-tos, and it's actually nice because it's aligned with my company, is sincerity. So one of Alcova's core values is sincerity, and all of them are courage, agility, sincerity, and tenacity. Sincerity is one of my favorite ones because I think a lot of people can tell when you actually are sincere and say, hey, I want to help you and I'm going to give you the best advice I can. And if I am not the best fit for you, I'm going to tell you where to go. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And I'm going to make sure you're as informed as possible. Or for example, if someone comes in and maybe their credit is not in a place where they can buy a home today, hey, here's how we can get you there. And here's the quickest way we can get it. Here's the steps you need to take. The sincerity thing has always been a big one for me because I want to do what's best for the client. That's one of the rules that Dad and I have is that if he says he wants a Coke, not a Pepsi. Toilet paper rolls over, not under. And then we always do what's best for the client. That is what we tell everyone when we hire them. And we try to live by that. I've got people who we're going to be rate shopping. Like, look, here's what you need to watch out for because other lenders may not tell you the truth and they're just going to quote you a low rate and not tell you about the discount points because they're just trying to earn/steal your business. And they may not tell you about it till it's too late. I'm going to tell you the truth up front. Here's what my actual pricing is. And let's try and get you the best deal that we can.
Yeah. I giggled as you said that because I've been in that conversation over lunch where your dad wants the Coke, not Pepsi. And yeah, that's fantastic. Now, if you're seeing this, so we're doing this live through our Leading at the Next Level community, specifically in the Leadership Legacy channel of that community. Now, if you're catching the audio on our podcast or anywhere else, or even in the 2026 Leadership Legacy Digital Game Plan, rock on. But the only place you're going to see a live version of this and the full uncut is through that Leadership Legacy channel in the Leading at the Next Level community. So you can see me laughing at any weird faces that I make and so on and so forth. You're totally missing that if you're just getting the audio on one of the platforms, the Spotify, the iTunes, whatever they're called. That was fantastic. Now, David, you mentioned that it happens to be one of Alcova's values as well. Talk about how important it was because you and your dad made it a very intentional choice to go with Alcova. You were already with a good company, but you made a very intentional choice to go there. And those values, the way I understand the story, were a big piece of why you said, yep, there's alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, like you said, we were with another company and we always wanted to have either a lifeboat or a backup option. And the backup option that we had was a mortgage company located in Northern Virginia. And that started to implode on itself. The owner passed away and the kids basically inherited the company, started firing a bunch of people. And so we said, we need to go start talking to people just to get another lifeboat in case anything ever happens to our current company. So we went down and met with the owners of Alcova. after also interviewing with a few other companies. We told them, hey, we're not interested, but we'd like to know what you're about. And after leaving that meeting, I think we sat in silence in the car for at least 5 or 10 minutes. And I think my jaw even dropped here. And we looked at each other and we said, I don't know if this is a life, but I think we must have to go here. And we talked about it the whole way home. We pondered on it for another week or two. And the more we thought about it, the more we said, we need to make the switch now. And then our current company can be our backup or our lifeboat, because this is just too good not to at least give it a shot. And so that's how we ended up at Alcova. But the owners they are genuinely wonderful people. And it's so nice to work with a company where I love everyone that I work with. Our values are all aligned and everyone will jump in to help out on anything. If you've got a last minute pop up at our old company, it might have been, oh, we can't do it until tomorrow. Whereas I've had underwriters, processors, closers, you name it, jumping through hoops to get something done to save a deal for the same day. So it is just such a refreshing place to be when you've got a whole company that's got the aligned values.
David, in each of the books that I've written to this point, specifically starting with What's Killing Your Profitability, I reference an article I found in the Harvard Business Review probably 4 years ago now, called The Things They Do for Love. And it cited the statistical impact of employee engagement. And it said when employees are engaged, and I'm going somewhere with this, there's as much as 57% more discretionary effort, and that translates over to 20% improvement in individual productivity. Now, when those values are aligned, that's where that engagement comes from. And you just talked about that discretionary effort and the results that you guys get because of that discretionary effort, because your values aligned, really speak to that. And I've got a friend that several months ago, he comments to me and he said, Wes, I've noticed that you and Cindy have really good friendships with everybody that I see you do business with, especially when it's more than a one-off business relationship. And I commented on effectively what you and Dad saw when you met with Alcova. I've had conversations with Bobby, so I know where you're coming from with that. I said, if our values are aligned, I want to be friends with him too. It's not just a transaction, it's a relationship, and I can have good, but if our values aren't aligned, I'm not sure I want to do business with him either.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said, I've heard it and I've regurgitated it, but people do business with people who they know, like, and trust. If you don't have that, you're not going to have it. And I feel like friendships naturally just develop on that. So whether you start as friends and then become business partners, or you start as business partners, you're probably going to become friends. And that's just natural.
And those values, when they're in place, they provide that foundation for that trust to be stable long-term. That's powerful. So you guys do a lot as an organization, and I've gotten to be part of some of that. So I don't want to lead you too far down this path, but I want you to talk about a successful community project or a campaign that you guys spearhead, that you've seen make a very specific impact in the community you serve, or even across the world.
Yeah. As you know, we've got a hero recognition program, and you've actually submitted, I think, 3 that have been accepted by Alcova just in the last 2 years or so. But it's basically anyone who has served in the military, who's now actively making a positive impact on their communities, can be submitted. And once a month, Alcova gives out this reward, and it's nothing crazy. I think it's just a $500 reward to basically pay it forward and thank you for what you've done and what you are continuing to do in your community. So we have that hero award that we give out monthly as a company. And thanks to you, we've been fortunate enough to sponsor 2 of them here locally, and a third one in Richmond, who, because you're friends with quite a few vets and great people all around. Another thing that still comes to my mind, I think I talked about this last year too, was when the whole North Carolina hurricane came through, I think 2 years ago now. One of our owners, Bobby, was right down in the trenches, boots on the ground, helping pass out resources, helping do whatever was needed for the community, because we've got branch offices that were affected and their communities were affected. And he said, hey, this is where I need to be right. So it's just that service first mentality that I think it runs through almost everyone in Alcova. That's fantastic.
When when anybody in a leadership role leads by example, it's very easy for everybody else to follow suit and to buy in. That's where that discretionary effort, when the chips are down, that's when people jump on, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So on a personal level, Dave, talk to me about what has really driven you? What about your values has driven you to invest the time, the energy, the finances into your own personal leadership growth? You've been married for a couple of years. You guys have two young children. You've got a ton of stuff going on professionally, personally. What's that piece? How do your values really push you to make sure that you're continuing to sharpen the saw to make sure you're the best you can be for the team that counts?
Yeah, that was a tough one. I talked about the Marine Corps earlier. That was at that point in my life, I was in college and I thought it would be cool to be a naval aviator. So I wanted to fly jets like Top Gun. It was before Top Gun Maverick. I wanted to do that. And I didn't realize the leadership that was involved with becoming an officer in the military. So that was something that piqued my interest during that whole experience. And I went, okay, maybe this whole leadership thing is something that I would be okay at, or I might want to do. And then really from there, it was meeting people like you, working with you and Cindy and development after we had met a few years back, and also wanting to, I guess, just help the community and those around me. I've always tried to lead by example. I think I probably picked up a lot of that from either childhood, from watching my parents, or the whole Quantico experience. And it's just, hey, how can I help people around me better themselves? If I notice that someone wants to do better and there's something that I can do to help it, I don't know, but I've got the urge to, all right, what can I do to help you succeed and achieve your goals?
And one of the things that I've said over and over in the work that Cindy and I do is, if we've taken leadership responsibility, the work's going to be hard regardless. There's never going to be enough time. There's never going to be enough of us to go around. If we just invest into doing the right things, it's still hard work, but we get better results. If we don't do that, we're going to have to work hard and we're not getting the great results we're really capable of. So it's which hard do you want to go after? Now, this next question, you guys have partnered with us on several events over the years, and we're just as we have this conversation, we're less than 60 days away from the 2026 Leadership Legacy Experience. The theme of this year's event is my newest book, The Values Advantage. And we've talked about values and their importance throughout. At that event, we're going to map out the framework for applying the values advantage. There's a lot more coming with that I'm not going to talk about here today, but it's a whole lot. You've had a little bit of a behind the scenes look, not much, but a little bit of a behind the scenes look. If you could, what could you put your finger on that framework can help organizations do to really latch on those values? You're blessed to work in an organization that those values are very pivotal. They're very embedded. They're part of who you are, what you do. But for the companies that don't have it, what can you put your finger on to say, here's what you can gain from understanding that framework? Here's how we identify core values. Here's how we model them for our teams. Here's how we live them for our clients, our community, et cetera. What could they expect to see in growth and impact from that?
Yeah, I would say probably empowering your team is one of the biggest ones that I've gotten from your leading with a clear purpose. Is personally, I love to help watch my teammates grow. And I refer to everyone basically as a teammate or a coworker, not an employee, because that's how we're a family here. That's bottom line. We're a family. We're all working together. And that is very much the atmosphere that we strive for. I was in their shoes not too long ago. I just got in the business about 10 years ago, and I was working with my father. So obviously the family thing was easy because we've been family forever. But working with him, I didn't want to be viewed as, oh, I'm an employee or I'm just doing my dad's dirty work that he doesn't want to do or anything like that. Helping empower them to, hey, what can we do to help you grow your own business, and really giving them kind of ownership over viewing this as their own business, their own kind of self-employed thing, just within a structure that we've already got built for. I think it would be similar to real estate agents. The difference is they're like 1099 contractors. So it really is self-employment through a brokerage or whatever else. But we kind of have the same model, even though we're W-2 employees. And as a younger loan officer, I always had set goals for myself. My goal, and it still to this day, is typically always I want to do 100 units a year. But that's a very basic goal of, hey, this is what I want to do professionally. But then on a deeper level, it's, I want to be able to help 100 people or 100 families actually achieve that. And the more people I can help impact positively, the better it is. I would say really it's just inspiring that in all of our coworkers and our team. And like I said before, we have a wonderful company that we work with without everyone being a team player. And a lot of this comes down to the corporate staff as well, the processors, the underwriters, the closers. We don't have any of them employed in our branch. It's a teamwork between us and corporate, but it's also just, there's a lot of people don't realize how many people are actually involved in a real estate transaction. For starters, you've got your realtor, you've got your lender, you probably got an insurance agent, maybe a home inspector. And then on the lending side, we're going to be ordering an appraisal. We've got a processor, an underwriter, a closer. We've got a secondary market. Like, there are dozens of people who work on any real estate transaction, a lot of it behind the scenes. And that teamwork is really important. Having a great team that helps elevate you, but also empowering them to own what they do themselves, I think is probably key there.
Wow. I love that you said teammates, and it really captured my attention. You also said family. So the inspiration behind the Values Advantage was my friend Craig Johnson. And it started almost 5 years ago when my first conversation with him and his wife, Kim, when they said, "Hey, we're looking at buying this business in Waynesboro." And they mapped it out. I was going to do their handbook and some of the initial paperwork for them, the I-9s and some of the different things like that. And he said, if you write this handbook, it's going to be based on 5 values, not all this legalese garbage. We'll put in what we're required to, but if we can't tie it back to the values and it's not required, we're striking it. So it ended up being the shortest handbook I've ever written, David. But the other thing, in addition to the values, compassion, humility, dependability, family, and integrity, family being one of those, he said, we're not going to have the word employee in our handbook anywhere. We're teammates. And I've never heard him use the word employee in the 5 years that I've interacted with him. He talks teammates all the time. And it's not a reporting relationship. It's a family. It's a teammate relationship. And that's a big deal. That, back to your integrity comment early on, when you mean it, people feel it. If you don't mean it, people feel that too, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
very powerful. Thanks for sharing each of those things. Now, this is the last formal question I'm going to tee up for you. And then I'm going to have one that's not scripted. So I get a spontaneous response from you. And I know you'll be able to roll with that. And I'll give you a little bit of time to prep on it. The last formal question that I've got teed up is, if you're talking to somebody that's following in your footsteps, that wants to grow regardless of what field they're in, but they want to take on leadership responsibility. And I always like to clarify the difference between that leadership responsibility and just a title that says supervisor, manager, whatever, because that's not necessarily leading. That might be take charging, but that's not the same. What advice are you giving that person to really grow and become a successful leader?
I would say whatever you do, do it to the fullest that you can. Jump in and do it 110, 120%. It's kind of like that demonstration, right? Have you ever seen like a public speaker? Well, you may have done this yourself as a public speaker, but where they say, "Hey, everyone raise your hand as high as you can." Hands go up. Like, all right, now raise it higher. And it's like, everyone can go up another inch on. That's where you should be already. So just start there at the absolute maximum, doing the best you can. And even if you're new to the industry or the business or whatever it is, it's going to take some time to master, but don't be afraid to say yes and get out of your comfort zone. So grow as a person, focus on yourself, do the best you can. And once you gain that base knowledge, that's where I think you can move into the leadership side. And it's really looking around, how can I help elevate the teammates or the people around me? And how can I bring everyone up to a better level, as opposed to just working on myself? You got to work for yourself first. And once you get it figured out, then, all right, how do I bring everyone up as well? Yeah.
Very powerful. The book that I've got scheduled to come out in 2027 is called Leveraging Leadership Growth Strength Through Great Professional Relationships. And it's going to be around the idea of, I've had some absolutely wonderful opportunities in my life, but none of it's because Wes is very good. It's because Wes worked hard, but it's just as importantly because Wes has had a lot of amazing people that's helped him. And I feel a heavy obligation to pay that forward, because had it not been for them, I might be a drunk guy running the press on second shift in a factory at best. So now the last question, and I'm going to give you a second as I'll talk about what's in the show notes where folks can get in touch with you. The last question I want you to think about is, what have I not asked you that you want to make sure really gets included in this for everybody accessing it wherever it's at? Now, as you think about it, I'll talk about the show notes. So David and Robert Bates and Alcova Mortgage in Harrisonburg, and I think your dad's office is in Franklin or Smith Mountain Lake area. I forget the name of the office.
Hardy. Yep.
Hardy. And they're fantastic folks. More importantly than the work they do, they're great people. And I've just cherished the relationship with them. I would challenge you to look in the show notes where I've got David's direct LinkedIn address, Alcova's LinkedIn address. I've got the Alcova website. I've got David's direct link on Alcova We've got a Facebook link and an Instagram link. There's plenty of ways to get in touch. I would suggest stalking David a little bit and say, how can I watch what you're doing? Because good people need to know good people. That's one of the things that gets me and Cindy out of bed in the morning. David, go ahead with that final question that I tossed out at you.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I didn't really touch on is one of the things that you can do for yourself is have a really strong, solid why. And again, for a while, I didn't know what that was. Originally it was, hey, got to pay the bills. I need to make some money. That's not a good, solid foundation as a why. Obviously that's important, but there should be something further in. I got married at 24, 25 and wasn't really planning on starting a family as soon as we did. But now I've got 2 kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. And every day is getting out of bed and just looking at them. And if you don't have kids, you may not understand, but the love that you feel for them is just incredible. And that has been just hugely inspirational for me. So have a good, strong foundation of why am I doing this? There's good days, there's bad days. Everyone has them. And there's going to be days where you want to quit or cry or whatever it is. What's your why and why are you doing this? And if that's a strong enough foundation there, other than just money or success or fame or whatever it is that you're chasing, who are you doing it for? That's going to help keep you centered and focused when you need it.
100% agree. And quite frankly, if it were up to me, I would even reference a book that's called Leading with Clear Purpose that kind of digs into that idea for a little bit. Yeah. David, I've really appreciated this. The relationship, more importantly, the conversation's fun. I always enjoy it when we get to do this, but I really appreciate the friendship with you and your dad and the teammate that you work with that we've gotten to know over the last couple of years. So thank you for doing it. If you're accessing this and you've got a need for continuing education credit, Cindy and I, for the last, 6 years now, we've invested heavily into being approved recertification providers through a couple entities, specifically SHRM and HRCI in the HR community, but we've worked with some others as well. If you need those continuing education credits in your field, send me an email at admin@dove-development.net, and I'll hook you up with some level of access. We've got different tiers now in our Leading at the Next Level full-on program. There's about 200 hours worth of content. All of it's approved for continuing education credit, and we can hook you up with some of that and even give you a discount code. You'll get a 7-day free trial to kick the tires, but then we can hook you up with a code that gives you a discount off at least the first year or something like that. David, thanks for being with me. Look forward to having you guys with us at the 2026 Leadership Legacy Experience. And gosh, if you're hearing this and it's before, make sure you get your spots. We've got Mark Cole, the owner and CEO of Maxwell Leadership. He's traveled the world with John Maxwell for now 25 years. Nobody spent more time with John than Mark Cole in the world. And Mark's become a really good friend with me and Cindy over the last 10 years. We've got a lady named Lane Jones that's coming with us. If you're accessing this in the digital game plan product, you'll get to see their stuff in there too. So again, make it a great day. David, thanks for having the time with us today. And make sure you chase down David at some of the links that we've got shared in the show notes. See you guys soon.